Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Sakari, and this is the third of the life-altering event, Conversations. Now, I'm honored today to host this conversation on the hidden benefits of a crisis with my good friend, Dave DeRosier. Now, this conversation is brought to you, is sponsored today by the TAG team, which is a collaboration of the Abraham Group, headed by the marketing research genius, Jay Abraham, who has increased the bottom line of over 10,000 clients by in excess of $21 billion. And my organization, Life Altering Events, who are experts in business and organizational development, as well as finance and scaling operations. Now, the TAG team members have all reached a place in our life where we want to see the next generation of businesses thrive. Now, this is an elite and exclusive program for entrepreneurs who are looking to make an impact. We're looking for the best. Remember this, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear this multiple times today. Great accomplishments come from great adversity. If you want to make a difference, go to my website, franksakari.com, and you download the TAG team application, and you'll have the details. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the past 2 months, or almost 3 months, we've been hoping things will go back to normal. Okay, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're going to have to find a new normal in many areas. And let's think about this. Besides, what was so good about the old normal? If you're like 85% of the workforce, you weren't fully engaged at work. You spent 10 hours a day at work, an hour commuting each way. So you were spending 12 hours a day doing something you didn't enjoy. Now you have an opportunity to press a reset button and to make a change and discover what you really want. If you're a student, particularly if you're a 2020 graduate from high school or college, you had what many people consider the greatest year of their life taken from you. Now, what are you going to do about it? Life is not fair, but life is full of opportunities. My friend, best-selling author, speaker, television show host, and guest on my radio show, Life Altering Event, Mel Robbins, says often that excuses will always be there for you, but opportunity won't. So let me bring in my good friend, Dave DeRosier. Dave is a former NFL player. He is a keynote speaker. He's a vice president and partner of Path to Happy Success. And he's also the vice president of the NFL Players Association in Orange County. So Dave, you've spent your life helping people improving their life. Now we're in some very, very uncertain times here. So many people are afraid. How do you and your organization, Path 2, show people the world is not coming to an end and that they can find what they truly want? What do you tell them?
Well, great introduction. And one thing that you mentioned is that life isn't fair. And it's a term, of course, we hear all the time. And the question I would pose is that if the majority of people think that life isn't fair, doesn't that by definition make it fair? If we all believe life isn't fair, but here's what life is. Life will be difficult and life will be challenging and there will be crises. And so we can't control those most of the time, but we can control how we address them, how we persevere. What do we do in time of crisis? Do we look, as you mentioned, do we look at it as a time of opportunity, or do we use it as an excuse as to why we failed? And I would propose is that there's always going to be some type of opportunity. For instance, in 01 and 02, I was an investment advisor, and the dot-com explosion happened, and people lost 50, 60, 70% of their assets because they were mismanaged. And over 50% of financial advisors quit, went away. And I was a financial advisor. And so I looked at it and said, well, gosh, these people need a phone call. And I wasn't afraid to make those calls. And so many people were shying away from their clients because they didn't want to tell them the horrible news. And what I found was that they were looking for comfort. They were looking for advice. They were looking for somebody that was there to talk to them. And my business just grew exponentially. And, the same thing actually just recently happened. 2 months ago, I sat down with my mentee, and he owns a small window cleaning business. And he's 20-something years old and had over 100,000 of revenue last year. And he shared with me that he was considering shutting it down because for the first time ever, all of his business went away.
Mm.
And I told him, I said, you know, Johnny, I go, look, if you could persevere, you can quit anytime. But I would do what I did 20 years ago. Why don't you call all of your customers, but more importantly, call the people that said no because they had other services. Tell them you're going to be there. And not only that, you'll offer them a 20% discount when they're ready to do business. You know, last week he had his best week that he has had in over a year, and he actually had an opportunity to take over another company that isn't going to make it and double his revenue. And he just said, Dave, I didn't think about the opportunity. I just saw all my business go away, and I thought, okay, I'm going to quit. I'm going to fail. And so there is always opportunity. The other numbers that you brought up that are very interesting because they fall right in line with what we do and what we do at Path 2, and that's 80% of people are disengaged in their jobs. Now, because of the recent happenings and crisis, and there's a lot of people that are completely out of their job. Now, before this happened, 40 million people transition careers every year. So, you know, there's a lot of people that are making changes. The reason that number, like, is so high, that 80%, is because people are trapped, right? They make decisions, but then they take on obligations. They have a mortgage, they have their rent, they have the car payment, they have their bills, and so they can't pivot. They can't. There's no breathing room. We're so highly leveraged, and that's the majority of America. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just where we are. Today is an opportunity that we'll not probably see again. We certainly haven't seen it since the Depression, and that is the ability to have some breathing room, to be able to pivot, be able to make some changes, because there is assistance, right? I mean, it's not going to be pleasure, you know, it's not going to be easy, but you can reach out to your car. I know people that have done it and gotten 3-month extensions on their car payments, on your credit card payments, on your rent or mortgage. Now, yes, they may tack it on. There may be some things that you have to deal with in order to do this, but you're not alone. You know, up until this time, if you wanted to do something like that, you have a little bit of shame going, oh my gosh, you know, I can't do this. I can't reach out to anybody. Everybody's doing it. The whole world is on pause, allowing you to now reevaluate, rejuvenate, and maybe find that thing that you've been wanting to do or thinking about doing, but you just never felt like it was a good time to do that. You know, so it's actually kind of exciting to be in a position or to have a program like Path 2 to be able to assist people in this. You know, we find that you know, a lot of people will think, well, gee, I've done an assessment. I've done a podcast, you know, I answered 40, 50 questions. If not this, then that. If not this, then that. Then this, then that. And then, you know, it spits out, here's 5 or 50 careers that you're gonna like. Here's the problem, is that, you know, of course, having a company, we've done some research on those, and take those 5 times. Mm-hmm. And see the 5 different results that you get.
Exactly.
On how you're feeling, you know, and me being an inquisitive mind, you know, gosh, if I went into that thinking I wanted to be an architect, and that report said, well, no, you're going to be a janitorial supervisor, you're going to be a cashier, and I have to say, those were my results on one I just recently took. And I've been a CEO of 2 companies, so a janitorial supervisor, and so. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just that's not for me, and that's maybe why people are stuck, is that, you know, and if those were your results, and you were thinking, I wanted to be an architect, and architect wasn't in there, this is done, I'm done, I'm just gonna stay where I am. So it's no wonder why people are where they're at. The algorithm platforms just typically don't work. Another issue with those is that the majority of them are personality driven.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
Personality is typically what you love. So think about this. If you're taking one of those and it comes up with a result that you're going to love doing, you're going to get excited about it. Oh, I love that. But if you don't think about what you're good at, which is in a lot of cases entirely different. I jokingly say me and dancing. I love to dance, not good at it. But you need to take both of those into account. Well, what you're good at is aptitude. And so when you're doing this reassessment, this reevaluation, if you don't take both into account, you're going to miss a very big portion of the equation, and is why, once again, why people are in jobs that they're not being successful at. They chase something that they love. You know, I had a brief example of that is in college, I had to change my major because school interfered with practice, and so
Yeah.
on scholarship, I had to change my major, and I didn't know what to change it to, and my counselor says, well, take some classes that you like, you know, and I thought, all right, I love dolphins and whales. I'm going to take oceanography. Come to find out, there's a lot of things in the ocean other than dolphins and whales
Yeah,
that
there
I
are.
could care less about, and I got my first D, you know, and so here's something that I love, and I chase after it, but I have, and come to find out after taking our program, I have zero aptitude for biology or science. I didn't know that as a kid, you know? So for students out there, you know, Psych 101, oh my gosh, it's interesting, that's great. You know, a lot of people get distracted by those types of things. Oh, I loved that. Doesn't mean you're gonna be good at it. So you need to take both of those into account when you're doing this pivot, this change. The other thing that's really important is that you need to figure out how much can you make doing it. And especially if you're a young person. So this is, and actually just a little bit of background path too. We have two programs. We help students determine their best suited career so they can define a major and avoid the pitfalls of college. And then we have one that is for folks in career transition, which we work with a lot of veterans and of course people that are disengaged. But that being said is that so many times young people say, well, I want to be an architect because I heard I can make $100,000, or they say I can make $100,000. Well, no, young person, you're going to make anywhere from $42,680 to $96,000. You have to know exactly how much money you're going to make, because you're going to be greatly disappointed if you don't do this type of research. So you need to do your personality, you need to do your aptitude, you need to figure how much money you can make. You need to also know how much education is required for you to be competitive in that field. Is a degree sufficient, or do you need a master's or higher education to be competitive? A lot of people don't realize that a marketing director, 38% or so have a master's. So a lot of people think, well, I want to go into marketing and be a marketing manager. You're going to need more than a degree. So you need to know these things before going in. And another, and probably even more important than those two, is there going to be a job in 6 to 10 years? What is the growth rate of that career? Because we're seeing now a lot of things adversely affected. We didn't know the travel industry was going to get hammered with flies by what's happening, but it's going to change forever.
Yes.
Over 8 million jobs will be lost forever. So is there going to be a job in 6 to 8 years? And within our program, we have those tables. We have those projections using the U.S. Department of Labor's data. And who else would know that better than anybody than the U.S. Department of Labor? So we have incorporated all those things. So the other thing that will affect that growth rate is the impending AI and automation. Are you going to choose a career? If you're going to use this pivot, you don't want to do it again in 6 to 8 years because your job's being replaced, right? So you need to know that you're going into an industry that's growing and expanding. It just creates more opportunity, high energy, and more likely that you're going to be successful. So that's real important. And then the final aspect that a lot of folks just don't take, these are additional steps, is what interests you? What kind of things do you like to do? Do you like to read? Do you like to work with your hands? If you don't understand what interests you and apply those to the careers you're considering, you're not going to use your best strengths, those things that are going to keep you engaged. They're disengaged because they're doing things they don't like
Exactly.
to do. And so within our program, we have over 30 interests, and you rank them and you apply them. And then another step is work environment, your preferences. How do you want to work for the next 30 years? Do you want to work indoors or outdoors? You want to work in a team or by yourself? 40 hours a week, or like you and I, whatever it takes to get it done, Are you entrepreneurial? Those things that are so important to think about. And I have another brief example. I had a pool guy named Dan the pool man. And this is 15 years ago, well before Path 2 came into existence, but so applicable. And I was swimming, he showed up, And I said, damn, man, you're killing it with my pool. I've had a pool my whole life, but whatever you're doing, my eyes never burn. My skin's always never dry and itchy. And he goes, well, good. I'm glad my degree from Stanford in biochemical engineering is coming in handy. And I'm sure he's told the story a million times. I just think remember the conversation around my desk. I looked at him, he goes, well, actually, I have a master's.
Oh my goodness.
And he went in to say, he goes, look, when I was bebopping around Palo Alto, lab was 2-3 hours, a few days a week. I pick and chose when I wanted to go to lab. My projects, when I got to the higher elevation, I chose what I wanted to do my studies on, right? And it was mine, in my grade, and I was responsible for it. When I went to work for the company, I was in lab 8 to 10 hours every single day, part of a team, being given a mundane task. I hated it, but he had $200,000 in student loan debt. So he knew he was gonna make money. He knew he was good at it. He loved it, but he didn't think about how am I going to work the rest of my life. And evidently, he liked being outdoors. He liked being alone because he was a pool guy, and he actually had a great business. So, it's just so applicable to think about these things when making a life change. And then of course, within our program, we incorporate traits, which are your natural talents, and we're able to get it down to 2. And I don't want this to be a thing about tough too, but one thing that's important that no matter what you decide to do is that you use something that's completely transparent. Going back to the black box scenario, that you answer 20 questions, 40 questions, and then this calculation happens and they spit out 5 results or 50 results with no really true determination or explanation. You have no idea how it got there. Well, when you do a program like ours where you're learning about yourself and you're thinking about yourself and you're using all of your intrinsic characteristics, when it gets down to the final 2, if architect isn't in there, you know why. Because it didn't fit the criteria, right? No, I don't want to sit in a cubbyhole behind a desk. I don't want to be a draftsman. Because everyone wants to design Getty Museum. Everyone wants to, design these huge monoliths and beautiful buildings. But that's a very select few. Majority of them are just sitting at a
But does it fit? Does it fit?
25,000.
During the financial meltdown, we saw the start of the gig economy, where people said, I've had enough of this, I can do on my own. And as we're going through this, I do a lot of work at Arizona State, and even prior to this, the quarantine, I would hear these young people saying, I don't want to work for a big corporation. I would rather be a solopreneur, for a lack of a better word, and maybe I work with multiple different kinds of companies. But we're now in a position where you have the door is open. Where do you want to go? What do you think you want to do? And then before you jump off the cliff, make sure you talk to someone like Dave, contact Dave, and ask. Let's sit down and approach this with focus, with intelligence, and let's see, give yourself the best chance to succeed. All right, now in my day, we got the military, you had to have a job, you jumped off a cliff, you took the first job you had, right? Odds are you're gonna hate it. Odds are that's why there's so much turnover. So a little more focus, people like Dave can help you find where you want to go. What we've discovered multiple times after every downturn we've had is there's a great surge in innovation. So these, we said in the beginning, great accomplishments come out of great adversity. It's there. Go get the help you need. Make sure you see Dave. Any last words, sir?
No, I just think it's an excellent topic. It's something that I love speaking about and giving people hope and opening their eyes to the fact that in every crisis, there absolutely is always going to be some type of opportunity, some type of hope. It just depends on what lens are you using to view this time, and choose that lens of positivity and find out what it is that you can do to separate yourself from the rest.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've tried to keep these conversations short, to the point. Our goal is to give you hope. All right, we're going to get through this situation, and we're going to come out better on the other side. But remember this, ladies and gentlemen, during hard times, do 3 things. Look up, get up, never, ever give up. Better times and better people will come into your life. And let me leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. None of us are in this alone. The secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Dave showed you where a number of those rocks are. Join us again next week when we have another life-altering event conversation. Thank you. Again, thank you, Dave.
Thanks for having me on, Frank.